The Nahanni Valley is located in northwest Canada's Nahanni National Park. Many natural wonders can be found in the region, including sinkholes, geysers, and a cascade nearly twice the size of Niagara Falls. The Nahanni Valley in Canada's Northwest Territories has been described as one of the world's last remaining completely uncharted areas. It is only accessible by air, boat, or a long overland trek from the village of Tungsten because it is located above the 60th parallel. So despite being designated a national park in 1976 and a World Heritage Site in 1978, much of the territory remains unknown. Nahanni's dense forest and mountains may be the major reason for its minimal tourist visits, but it's also possible that the park is cloaked in horrific folklore attached to its foreboding terrain. The natives in the area believe that there is an evil lurking beneath the ominous 200-mile-long gorge. Thus, most people avoid the region. The Neha, a mountain-dwelling tribe, is also mentioned in local oral history. The Neha were dreaded by the Diné people of the region because they frequently raided the surrounding communities. These stories conclude with the abrupt and inexplicable disappearance of the Neha. There has never been any sign of this tribe. The strange history has given Nahanni the nickname, the Valley of the Headless Men, and many think that this UNESCO World Heritage Site is haunted. Several tribes have tried to settle in the area, but like the Neha, they either vanished without a trace or simply left abruptly, leaving behind all of their belongings. But this isn't the reason why the place is called the Valley of the Headless Men. This term originates from a series of mysterious events that occurred in the gorge during the early 20th century gold rush. The valley has been rumored to hold gold, and tempted by this, gold prospectors have been lured in, some never to be seen again. The first of these explorers were the McLeod brothers back in 1905. Three brothers, Charlie, Willie, and Frank, decided to go into the valley to look for gold. They crossed Flat River with some difficulty, and when they reached shore, they decided to set up camp. They set up their sluices, and after some time, they did find gold. They collected it and took it to their boat, and while they were on their way back, the boat capsized on the river and split in half, drowning a lot of their supplies and even the gold they had collected. Disappointed but not discouraged, they salvaged what they could, built another boat with the remains of the previous boat, and headed back home. It didn't take long for the brothers to decide that they wanted to go back and search for even more gold, only this time, Charlie said he would stay back as he felt it was a little bit too dangerous. The brothers Willie and Frank prepared for months before heading out. They took along another man with them to replace Charlie and set off for another expedition. No one heard from them for months. But Charlie really wasn't worried because the brothers had already told him that they would be staying there for quite a while. A whole year passed without any news, but still, no one was worried as they expected them to stay this long. But when it finally hit the 2-year mark since they had set out, Charlie decided it had been way too long and it was time to go and check on them. He rounded up a group of men and set out looking for his brothers. They didn't find them anywhere near the place where they had originally set camp, so the group ventured further. Now, it is important to note that the Flat River is surrounded by canyons, some reaching thousands of meters up. These canyon walls often rise vertically straight out of the river, which left very little room for the search party to pull to the side and rest for a bit. But the search party kept going through the canyon, and after coming out of the area, they did find a camp perched on one of the near shores. When they went to inspect, they found 2 decomposed corpses. The disturbing thing about these corpses was that they were both missing their heads. One of the corpses had its arm out, trying to reach for a rifle that was found just a few feet away. Further inspection of the site led them to find a carving on the tree. Charlie knew that his brothers had a knack for carving things into trees, and he recognized his brother's writing. The message indicated that the brothers had found gold, but there was no gold anywhere near the site, as if it had all been taken away. When the incident was reported to the local police, they immediately called it death by starvation. Now, as for why the heads were missing, the police said that an animal may have come and taken the head to eat it later. Despite what the police said, when the news broke out to the general public, everyone was convinced that it was more than what the police had boiled it down to, and thus began the legend of the Valley of the Headless Men. You would imagine that after this incident, people would be too spooked to go explore the area. Most were, in fact, and for some years, no one went there. But in 1916, a Swiss gold prospector named Martin Jorgenson decided he wouldn't let some legend spook him out of getting his hands on a potential fortune. So he set off with a partner to look for gold in the area near the place where the brothers were found. He went and built himself a cabin, intending to stay for a while trying to collect the gold. And soon after, he set out letters saying that he had found lots of gold, but afterwards, he was never heard from again. When a search party was sent over to the area that had been described in his letter, all they found were burned remains of the cabin and the decapitated corpse of Jorgenson, lying only a few feet away from the cabin. There was no gold in sight, and all of his belongings had burned as well. The police again said that he probably died of starvation and that a hungry animal once again had bit off his head. People weren't convinced, for obvious reasons, as this death was a bit too similar to the previous one, as if there was a connection between them. After this, several other disappearances occurred in the area. Several cabins of people trying to settle burned down mysteriously as well, and some decapitated corpses were found. Some notable incidences include that of an unnamed miner from Ontario, who was found in a sleeping bag, head missing just like the rest. Another one is John O'Brien, who was found next to the remains of a campfire, frozen to death. Now, what was weird about his death was that his facial expression indicated that he had been frozen in a second, as there was no reaction to being frozen. In fact, he looked like he had been enjoying the warm fire, with matches still in his hand. With all of these weird incidences, people finally decided to try and leave the place alone. Several theories have come up, however. Some believe that the valley is haunted by creatures who feed on the heads of humans. Some skeptics attribute the grisly mutilations to feuding gold prospectors or greedy bandits keeping the gold to themselves. But there are other strange occurrences in the area that only add to the valley's mystique. Others believe that there is a hostile tribe living in the area, who put the heads of those people on stakes to ward off any unwanted visitors trying to defile their secret land. Others say that the valley is a forgotten paradise with lush foliage and tropical weather, thanks to the hot springs that generate warm air, as well as undeveloped gold mines and wandering woodland critters. But whatever it is that's out there, we can all agree, it's definitely not friendly. Let us know your thoughts on the mystery of Nahanni Valley's Headless Men. And as always, thanks for watching.